Hey guys, Mrs. Sands here. So we're working on lesson 11. We're still working with volume, but today we're now going to find the volume of compound figures. That means that we will have some three-dimensional shapes that are maybe attached to each other, therefore we have to add the volumes together. Or maybe there's some three-dimensional shapes that are one within the other, therefore we have to subtract to find the volume that's remaining. So that's what we're in for today. Make sure you have your calculators out, and let's get doing the do now. Approximately how much air would be needed to fill a dozen soccer balls with a radius of 14 centimeters? Round to the nearest hundredth. So first thing we need to know is that a dozen is 12. Also that a soccer ball is in the shape of a sphere. So I would like to find the volume of one soccer ball, and then I'll multiply it by 12, and I will know how much air is needed to fill all 12 soccer balls. So the volume for a sphere, remember, is 4/3 pi r cubed. If ever you're unsure of what formula to use, please make sure you turn to that formula sheet in your workbook and look up the formula. Anyway, we're going to substitute in our numbers. The radius, they said, is 14. And it does say round to the nearest hundredth, which means pi is not going to be in our answer. I usually like to first find an exact answer and then write my answer in terms of the rounded answer. So remember, your calculator is a bit different than mine, but both of our calculators can do the same thing. So if I were to do an exact answer first, exact, I would type in the 4/3 and the 14 to the third, and I'm not going to hit the pi button yet. I'm going to write my answer in terms of pi. So 4/3 times 14 to the third power. Both my calculator and your calculator give the same answer of 3,658. Now your calculator says 0.6666667. You need to understand that that really means 0.6 repeating. So I am going to put the bar over it because right now I said I wanted to give an exact answer. Now, using my calculator, I'm going to keep that answer there and just hit multiply by pi. And for my rounded answer, I get that the volume is 11,494.0. Now remember, that's just for one soccer ball. So now I'm going to multiply this number by 12. And I get 137,928.5. And the units are centimeters cubed. I'm just rereading, and it says to the nearest hundredth, so I'm actually going to fix this 0.5. Because if I go to the hundredths place, it's actually 0.48. So I'm glad I reread. So number one of our classwork is pretty similar. A box contains 9 identical glass spheres that are used to make snow globes. The spheres are tightly packed as shown below. So you can see it's in a box that is 12 across. So if it's 12 across, doesn't that mean that each sphere has a diameter of 4? Because 4 plus 4 plus 4 gives me my 12. Now that's a diameter. I really like to use radius. So from the center out would then be 2. So the radius of each sphere will be 2 inches. They're asking for the total volume of all 9 spheres. So I'll find the volume of one sphere, then I'll multiply it by 12, and I'll make sure that my answer is rounded to the nearest tenth. So again, formula for volume of a sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed. So I'll plug in 4/3 pi times 2 to the third power. So when I type in 4/3 times 2 to the third power, I get 32/3. So my exact answer would be 32/3 pi. Remember, an exact answer has a pi in our answer. If I want a rounded answer, now on my calculator, I'm going to take that answer and just hit multiply by pi. And I can see that the rounded answer to the nearest tenth would be about 33.5. And that would be inches cubed. And that's only for one sphere. So let's multiply this by 12. Notice I keep this answer on my screen. The 33.51032164 is actually a more precise answer than just 33.5. So I'm going to keep that more exact answer, multiply by 12. And see that all 12 spheres is 402.1 inches cubed. And that's the answer to number 1. So if we turn to the next page, I want you to do this for homework, and we're going to do this together. So in both these pictures, you could see that it's three-dimensional figures stuck together. The one you're doing for homework is 2 cones that are stuck together. So you find the volume of one cone and the volume of the other cone and add them together. For B, which is the one we're doing together, I could see that there's a cone and there's a cylinder. So we'll find the volume of each and then add it together. Volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. Volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. So you have to look really carefully so that you use the correct numbers for each shape. When I'm doing the cone, the radius is 3, right? Halfway across a circle. That's definitely the number 3. And the height of the cone is here, which is 4. It does say in terms of pi, which means an exact answer. So I am going to put the 1/3 and this stuff into my calculator. The pi, I'm just going to leave here as part of my answer. When I type in 1/3 times 3 squared times 4, I get 12. So my exact answer for the cone is 12 pi. Remember, an exact answer leaves pi in your answer. Don't push the pi button on your calculator. Now we'll take care of the cylinder. Pi times, the cylinder has the same radius of 3. The height, though, is this number, the 8.5. So we'll type that into our calculator. So what I put in my calculator was the 3 squared times the 8.5. and you can see I get 76.5. So my exact answer is 76.5 pi. I don't push the pi button because I want an exact answer. I do have to put them together, so I will do 12 pi plus 76.5 pi. This is like combining like terms, actually. So I will just combine the numbers and pi will stay in my answer. So you can see I typed in 12 plus 76.5. So I get 88.5 pi. If I would have pushed the pi button on my screen, it would have given me a rounded answer. Because whenever I put pi like next to a decimal that's entered in a calculator, remember the calculator automatically rounds it. So what we just did for this problem was find the area of the cone, found the area of the cylinder. I left pi in both answers because I wanted an exact answer, and then I added the two together. And that's what you'll do for A when you do it on your own. Number 3 is also something I'm saving you for homework. Notice it's 2 cones and 1 cylinder. So now you have 3 pieces that we're adding together. Again, it says in terms of pi, so that means they want an exact answer. We're going to do number 4 together. So it says find the volume of the following figure if the diameter is 6 and the height of the cylinder is 2.5 inches. So you need to recognize what this shape is. This right here is actually a cylinder with half of a sphere on top, right? The sphere is cut in half. So this is half of a sphere. We could call it a hemisphere. And this is a cylinder. It says that the diameter, so that's all the way across this circle, is 6. And the cylinder and the sphere actually have the same diameter. So I'm just going to go look for the radius, which is halfway across. It's 3. I'll use that 3 for both the sphere and the cylinder. The cylinder has a height, though, of 2.5. Remember, spheres don't have a height because they really are circular all the way around. The formula for volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed, and the volume for a cylinder is pi r squared h. So let's take care of this. It does say that we're rounding to the nearest tenth, so I will push the pi button on my screen so that I get a rounded decimal answer. So 4/3, I'll hit the pi, and for radius we're using 3. So use your fraction button. 4/3 times pi, hit that pi button, times 3 to the third. I get about 113.1, right, when I round to the nearest tenth. And now if we do the cylinder, I'm going to wind up hitting the pi button. The radius is 3, and the height is 2.5. So I can hit pi right now if I wanted to, and multiply it by 3 squared, and multiply it by 2.5. I get about 70.7. When I add those two numbers together, see how I'm using all the numbers on the screen. I'm adding that 113 point so-and-so to the 70 point whatever. When you round too soon, sometimes your final answer is not as accurate. So I like to use the exact answers until the very end. So it turns out to be 183.8 to the nearest tenth. And that is in inches cubed. Now, if I were to add those two numbers, I still would have gotten the 183.8. So using the rounded answers in the addition would have still given me that same answer, but I always like to be safe. I use all the digits and really round at the end. There is only one more problem I want to do with you. It's number 5. If we go ahead for a moment though, we're not doing 6 at all. You don't have to do it for homework. We're not doing it here in class. And number 7, I do want you to do for homework. I will help you set that up after we're done doing number 5. So Nate uses a cube-shaped bead with side lengths measuring 6 millimeters. Each bead has a circular hole in the middle. So here's a picture of a real bead. You know, these are like beads that people use to make jewelry, and that's why there's a hole in it. But the diameter of the circular hole is 2 millimeters. They want us to find the volume of the bead. So it's finding the volume of this rectangular prism and then subtracting away the volume of the cylinder, right? I'm subtracting it because it's a hole in that bead. So when you make a hole in the ground, even, you take away dirt. So when I make a hole in any three-dimensional figures, it is a subtraction problem. So the rectangular prism minus the cylinder. Rectangular prism volumes are easy, length times width times height. That one you need to have memorized. It's not on your formula sheet. But the volume of a cylinder is on your formula sheet. It's pi r squared h. I bet you're already starting to remember these anyway. So if I were to label this picture here, the sides are 6. They said it's a cube, so the length, the width, and the height are all 6. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. I have to subtract away the cylinder. And it does say to the nearest tenth, which means I will push the pi button. So this is pi times, oh, I see I did not label this. Look at the diameter of the circular hole is 2 millimeters. So all the way across is 2. If the diameter is 2, then the radius is 1. So for r, I'll do 1 squared. And the height of the cylinder, take a look. The cylinder is actually the height of the whole bead. So the height is going to be 6. So let's type this into our calculator. We'll hit the pi button. We'll multiply it by 1 squared. And we'll multiply it by 6. We get to the nearest tenth, 18.8. On our calculator, let's subtract these. 216 minus 18.8, and I get 197.2. It's about 197.2. This was in millimeters cubed. So that's really what I needed to teach you, that when shapes are stuck together, we add them. When there's a shape inside of a shape that's creating like a hole, we subtract them. So if we were to remind you what you're doing for homework, number 2a, number 3. Those you have to add them. Then number 7, since it's a figure inside of a figure, we're going to subtract on this. I just want to set you up for success. It's a cylinder minus a sphere. So volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. Volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r to the third. Let's label this picture. The height of the cylinder, it says, is 6 meters. The radius of the cylinder is 4 meters. And the ball has a radius of 3 meters. So use the correct numbers in your formulas. It does not say to round anywhere. So since it doesn't tell you to round, it means give an exact answer. Anytime they don't tell you to round, you must do an exact answer, which means pi will be in our answer. So refer back to what we did here when we left pi in our answer. This happened to be an addition problem. The one that you're doing will be a subtraction problem, but we will keep pi in our answer. So you can start on your homework, and I will see you soon.